Instead, let us talk about another company that is having a really, really phenomenal year and is forcing me to eat a little bit of crow. I'm not going to lie. That is, of course, Nintendo. The Nintendo Switch has now sold 10 million copies, 10 million units of the console have sold. And that is insane when you think about it, because the entire lifetime of the Wii U, which was how many years? 4, 5 years? 5, I want to say.
It's 2012, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, 5 years. All the Wii U's together sold, I will tell you right now,
13.76, wasn't it?
13.56.
56.
13.56. So they are almost up to the lifetime sales of the Wii U in less than a year, which is in fucking insane.
That's pretty goddamn impressive.
It is. It is. I remember when they announced that their goal was to sell 2 million in like 1 month, and we were laughing at this number and saying like never going to happen and whatnot.
And then I bought one.
Right. And so sort of to give us some perspective, the Wii sold a little bit more in just at the same time frame. The Wii sold 13.17 million in 10.5 months. So very close, not quite as well, but very close. My question to you guys is, where do you see the Switch going from here? Do you guys see, do you think this is like we haven't peaked yet? You think there's still, a lot of sales left? Or do you kind of see a Wii situation where obviously the Wii sold like bananas for, what was it, the first 2-3 years, because it just kept flying off the shelves and then flatlined almost because there's no interesting software coming out for the system?
There's no way that they can recreate the mania of the Wii. I mean, if you think about it, first, the Wii had way broader appeal. And second of all, like, it took 2 years to be able to see them on store shelves. At least right now you can see Switches on store shelves, but they have a lot of momentum, and I think they're going to carry that momentum forward. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I get asked probably once a week from people at work what the Switch is like and if I would recommend it and all that other stuff. And I sing its praises. I really do like my Switch. So I don't know. I think it's a new way to play, and I think a lot of people are really digging it.
It's so interesting to me because obviously the Nintendo Switch is essentially a
Shield.
an NVIDIA Shield that got like a nice paint job done essentially to it. And the NVIDIA Shield never had these numbers, but obviously it also didn't have Nintendo's titles behind it. So it's very, very interesting. Connor, what's your take on the Switch?
I was thinking at first that I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch, like, kind of replicated the success of the Wii, but thinking about it more, I think Josh is right that you can't really, I don't know if they'll ever really retread that same ground, because I think you were right, Josh, that the original Wii just had such general appeal to, like, literally anybody. It was like the new, I don't know, back when the television was new, every family wanted one in the living room. I think the Wii was kind of the new thing that everyone wanted in their living room, no matter if they play video games generally or not. And the Switch is a little bit more of a specialist sort of thing where you kind of need to be more of a hobbyist to appreciate it as much. But that being said, I think just the fact that stores can't seem to keep their Switches in stock, like, speaks to how much momentum they have. I think we'll have to wait until the final numbers come back from this current holiday season. And you also need to factor in, like, early January when people are spending gift cards and stuff. It's just gonna keep chugging along at a pretty good, healthy sales rate. So I'm expecting these numbers to climb a lot. I don't think it'll be quite Wii successful, but you can tell Nintendo learned a lot of the lessons they needed to learn from the Wii U, and I think they've delivered what people wanted, and that's showing in the numbers.
Well, I mean, look at the 3DS. How many units did the 3DS sell? It was like 60 million.
Something unbelievable, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the Switch has the potential to get that high. I mean, it really does.
I agree.
I have to agree with you guys as well. As much as it makes me want to.
I know it
Well,
kills you
but-
inside, Mike.
Yeah, it does. It does. But no, I'm happy to see Nintendo doing well. I will say this. I think a lot of people were very, very skeptical coming into the launch of the Switch. And I don't mean just like consumers. I mean a lot of developers were very skeptical going into it. And so now that the system is doing so well, we're starting to see more and more developers say, "Oh shit, I need to get my game out onto the Switch." But what that means for us is that they're starting development now, or they've started development in the last 2, 3, 4 months, and we won't have an actual game to play for another year minimum, potentially more for AAA titles. And so my concern is that there's going to be some sort of drought. But even if there is, like, let's say a half-year drought of AAA titles, I think it won't matter. There's so much momentum behind it now that the hype train is just going to keep rolling on. And I think Nintendo probably is going to have a couple of more things. They were very, very smart. And I commend them for releasing Zelda and then waiting a while to do Mario. That 1-2 punch is just phenomenal, and I think it's driving very strong sales.
It's this weird thing. It's this brilliance that. So when the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, the discussion was who had higher frame rates, who had a higher resolution, and it was like, oh, I'm going to buy that console, or I'm going to buy that version of that game because it looks better, or it runs another frame or two faster. But people who already own PS4s and Xbox Ones, when a new game comes out, they're like, man, I really wish I could get this for my Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's a really strange thing. Like, for instance, like the new South Park. I would have bought South Park if it was out on my Switch. I did not buy the new Wolfenstein because I knew it was coming to Switch. And it was
really?
I was like,
even though objectively it's going to look better on your PC or PlayStation or whatever, you're going to save it for the Switch.
Yep, and I'm not the only one either. The guys on the Giant Bombcast, also the people on Rooster Teeth. Like every time I listen to one of their podcasts or watch one of their shows, they say similar stuff. They're like, man, I just wish this was on the Switch so I could take it with me.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. I think that plays into what I was thinking of is just that I'm not too worried about a drought on the Switch when it comes to the game library, Mike. It's a valid concern for sure, but I just feel like people who follow Nintendo fans and owners of Nintendo consoles, they tend to tolerate software drought a little bit better than like a Sony or Microsoft purist or a PC gamer would, because I think Nintendo fans tend to be a little more patient because they just expect the best games to be first-party titles that come out less often. So I think they're better at waiting, and it's also less of a problem for the Switch because, like Josh pointed out, you've got all this crossover stuff coming from, Skyrim, you've got Wolfenstein, you've got, all kinds of. I'm seeing actually a pretty good amount of third-party titles for the Switch as well. Like, I think it was like Has Been Heroes is a really popular little RPG that I know some people are playing. Stuff like that, where it's like, I'm actually surprised that it's a fairly strong library.
I am
better than I'd expected on a Nintendo console.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo did a really good job of getting a bunch of third-party independent developers onto the console and getting them the support that they need to port things over. And obviously, because it's based on, again, the Shield and Android, I think Undercurrent, it's not super hard to get things working on that structure. I'm also thinking that potentially it's possible for a quick upgrade in the life cycle, in that we might see like a Switch 1.5 or something like that.
I think we will
come out within like a year or two, especially
probably.
because NVIDIA has stronger, more powerful not cards, but chipsets coming out, or we're in the process of coming out for the Shield when they sort of discontinued that to partner with Nintendo. So,
and they could fix some of their design flaws, like where the charging port is, if you want to put the kickstand up, or supporting Bluetooth headsets, or there are so many little things that they can improve that would really make it a much better experience. And if they did those things, I would trade this one in and get another one.
Bold words.
I will.
So yeah, I mean, listen, Nintendo, like, job well done. You know, credit where credit is due. Keep up the good work.
This has been a production of the GWW Radio Network. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Also, check out Geeks Worldwide at thegww.com for all the latest news, reviews, and opinions on video games, comics, movies, TV, cosplay, and more. Geeks Assemble!